Alright, in this video, part 9 to KLWP for beginners. In the first, I guess you can say 8 parts, we've created these pieces, we've done some animations. As you can see, we're sliding here. Those are covered, in the first 8 videos, everything up until this point. And now what we want to focus on doing is working with a component. So we're going to do that. We've already worked with the component, but we're going to create one. We're going to do a little bit of math, so I'm definitely going to enjoy this. We're going to look at some progress bars, different ways of modifying those to our liking, and yeah, that's what we're going to focus on here. And then we're going to make it look nice inside of what we have right now. So some things I have not addressed that I should have, shame on me. Anytime you're creating something, when you save it, that will apply to your home screen. However, if you actually want to save this whole preset, you actually need to export it like that. So go to export preset just like I did. You can name it, do stuff like this. And when I'm done with all this stuff, I will be sharing this with everybody so you can look at little pieces, especially for beginners. For people who are real pretty advanced with KLWP, this probably will not benefit you too much. But to export it, you click check, and that will actually save it onto your SD card or in your custom folder, wherever you have it saved into. And now you can always be able to pull this back up on any device that you have KLWP on. Now, let's talk about what we want to do inside of this thing. So we have these two pieces, date and time, and we have weather. Let's add, now, let's go look, and I'm going to click on plus, and I'm going to go to component, which is up here at the top. And what we did in a previous video was, let's see, featured, installed, where are you at? The base pack. Where are you at? Right here, battery bar. This is we're going to create this. We're not going to use this one. So I'm going to show you how to create this using progress bars. And the one we did earlier, we did use the weather component that was included with the base pack. So I'm not going to use the battery bar that's included here, but we're going to create one. So let's go to plus, let's go to component, and if you want to create one from scratch, you just tap this little icon right here. So now we have a component, and what I'm going to call this component is, I'm going to call it stats, because we're going to put a few things inside of here. Whoops. We're going, for this video, I'm going to put the battery bar, I'm going to put, we can monitor our CPU usage, and let's monitor our RAM. And we're going to put all that inside of this stats component. Now let me talk about what a component is. A component is like a preset inside of this whole thing. So notice I'm in my root folder, I have globals right here. These globals apply to, pretty much the whole wallpaper. But now inside of a component, you also have the option to add globals. So now I'm inside of my stats component. I can put globals which only apply to this component. And when we save this component in a little while, we'll be able to load this component immediately into another preset. All right, and I'll talk more about that as we get into it, but we're going to work inside of this component for right now. And what we want it to do here, here's the goal I'm trying to obtain. So maybe inside of this component, I want it to look a little something. I mean, square, not square, it don't matter. I want to see a battery bar, kind of like the one we just showed. I want to see the percentage in here. So right now my battery's at 51%. Maybe I want to see something like that. Maybe I don't want to see the circle. And then down here I want to see another progress bar that shows the RAM. And then I want to see another bar that shows the CPU usage. And we're going to be able to apply global colors and fonts and stuff that are proprietary to this component. That these globals that we apply inside of here, notice we are inside of our component stats. The globals that we create in here will only apply to the things that we have inside of this component. So that's one of the cool things about a component. So this is something that we're trying to achieve. We'll worry about where to put it on the screen in a few minutes, but that's what we're after. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go back to my root. I'm going to hide. Remember, I did this in an earlier video. I'm going to hide this layer for right now. So I'm going to visible, never, it's gone. And I'm going to go back and do the same thing to my weather layer. visible, never. So everything's hidden, that way I can just focus solely on my stats. So let's work on the battery piece. So I'm going to go to plus, I'm going to go to progress, and now by default when it loads up a progress bar it's going to be a battery one. But it's battery, it's linear, and it's flat progress. So let's go ahead. There's not much tweaking that we have to do for the battery one. It's not too bad to duplicate that component that I just showed you a moment ago. So we want to do battery. You can pick your progress. You can do flat progress, as you can see up there. I'll tell you what. Let me move this down a little bit. So let me go back to my component. Let me position this in the center of the screen. Now that looks a little bit better. So let's go back to this battery. Flat progress, let's see, split progress, that splits it into pieces, and then you can do repeat shapes like that. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to do flat progress. All right. Rotation, I don't want to rotate it, but yes, you can rotate this thing. You can do it manually, but I'm just going to go to none for right now. And let's go to style. Style, I want it to be circular. So you have linear and you have circular. Bam. So we're already starting to look like that component that we just saw a moment ago. Let's adjust the size of this. You can do it like that. You can make it thicker. I'm happy with that pretty much. That looks fine to me. Mode, you can change it to gradient. And you can apply some gradients. We talked about gradients in an earlier video. Current, it will show you, since I'm at 51%, I'm right here, like this is 0, this is 50, so I'm at 51. You can do a multicolor to apply like more gradients to it per se. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do flat for right now. And okay, foreground color, the white. The background color is the gray. So this is how much I've used, and this is how much I have left. Now we can apply some global fonts inside of our component that we call stats. So I'm going to call it, I'm just going to give it some generic ones. Let's call it red, and let's do a green. So I'm adding, now be careful, these global colors that I'm adding in here are only going to apply to this component. That is one of the benefits of having a component. So I got a green and a red. So let's go back to items, let's go to our battery, and let's go to color, foreground color. The foreground is this one. This is how much we have left, so I'm going to apply that global font of green, and then I'm going to apply this background color, how much I've used, I'm going to apply a red. So that's that right there. All right, there we go. Now, I do know in the earlier component there was actually the part that we had used was a little bit thinner than what we have left. I don't know if you remember that from the battery component that comes with KLWP. Now here's how we can actually do that to make this red a little bit thinner, so that way this green is a little bit wider. What we can do here is actually I can take off this red background color. So let me go and tap this to take off that. And just make this one right here totally transparent. So that you can just slide this little color bar all the way across here. And now even though the background color, you think it's gray, but it's actually transparent, so we don't see anything now, which is not a bad thing. And you might say, well, how do I get the red back? Here's what we can do. We can go back to our piece here. Let's just add another progress. So I'm going to plus, I'm going to go to progress. You actually could do a circle here. Heck, that's what I'm going to do. Let me go to shape. All right, shape, I'm going to change this shape to a circle, and I'm going to make it bigger, and let me go ahead and go to paint. I don't want to fill this circle, I want to use the stroke. Let's make the stroke a little bit bigger, and now this is actually going to go behind this green thing. Let me apply the red to this for the color. So again, we're still inside of our component. Notice my other global variables from root are not showing up. All those other earlier colors that we did in the video. So how big do we want the stroke? I'll say 10 is fine. I'm gonna go back and adjust this size, and that looks pretty. Let's zoom in on it. That looks pretty good. It looks like that ring is centered, but we want this to be behind this battery thing. So therefore what I need to do is just slide the circle there. And now notice, so this is what we've used, the green is what we have left. Bam, just like that, we pretty much got this the battery piece duplicated, except for now we want to see the percentage in there, the battery percentage. So we should be seeing 51. Of course, this doesn't update on the fly quite as quickly as it does some other times. So I'm adding some text. I tell you what, before I do anything more with my text, I'm inside of my component. I'm going to add a global font, and I'll call this, I'll just call it font, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to use one font for this. So let me go choose my font, and let's pick something. How about Yahoo? All right, sounds good to me. Going back to items, let's go to that text. Let me zoom in on this so we can see it. And now, so we're going to do a little bit of coding, but actually it's not much coding because the coding is, we can have one we can pick out right down here. So scrolling through our functions, go to battery info level. Yeah, we want battery level, so tapping on that. There's our battery level, 51%, check. And now let's make this a little bit bigger. That looks good to me. Let's apply that global font to that text. And remember, we just called it font. So we got the 51%. Now that I did that, I need to make it a little bit smaller. And what color do you want this to be? So if you want to apply color, you can definitely, I'm not going to do a global. You can easily go back into the component, add yet another color. I tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to just change it. And I want it to be like a blue. All right, there we go. So there's our battery piece. Now remember, I wanted the battery, and then I want to see like the RAM usage. So let's do some math. Let's do some math to get the RAM usage. And this is going to be a little bit of coding involved as well. So I'm back inside of my component. All of these pieces right here are actually working together. So it's probably a good idea to put these things inside of an overlap group. That's just my personal preference. So let me cut. Let me paste them in here. And now I'm in my stats component. This is my overlap group, but this overlap group, it has everything that I'm concerned with in regards to my battery. And what's great about this now that I have all this stuff inside of here, yes, it's inside of the component, but if I go to this battery overlap group that has all these pieces inside of here, I can scale this piece individually, but it's not actually scaling that component when I start adding my other pieces in here. I think that's a great feature to do. Put all those pieces, plus it's just organized, you know? You got your component stats, we have a whole battery overlap group that has all that stuff. Great. Now, let's add the RAM. Let's do the RAM. So here's what I'm going to do. Before I do that, I'm going to add a shape, and I'm going to put a square right inside of this thing just to give me some bearings, and you'll see what I'm talking about right here in a second. So let's make this square really, really big. Let's go to about 700. Not quite to the edge. 720 takes you to the edge, by the way. Let me go to paint. And for right now, I'm just going to put it on stroke just so I can see my square a little bit. I will be making this transparent in a minute. And now that I've done this, by me putting this square in here, I've actually made this component this big. So I want to take this battery piece, remember that overlap group, I can move all of those pieces right up here to the top. So let me position the battery at the top of this component. Notice it's not at the top of the screen, it's at the top of the component, and it's based on that square. Now I can put my RAM and my CPU down here, and it'll look pretty nice, I think. So back to the stats component. Let's add another progress. And right now it is positioned, the progress is positioned in the center of this thing, but we'll tweak that in a second. So now, we're not going to use battery here. We are going to use Kustom. So Kustom now, when we go to Kustom, we can actually, slide this bar, and as you can see, it is changing. Flat progress, I'm okay with flat progress again. You can do, oh, what the heck. Let me do split progress. All right, split progress. It's broken up into 10 sections. As you can see, we do have 10 sections right there. We can make this more. I tell you what, I'm going to put it up to 100 sections. Now it looks kind of crazy right now, but we're going to fine tune this. Rotate, let's leave it alone for right now. Let's go to style, let's change this to circular. Alright, let me zoom out. And I want this to be in my bottom left hand corner. So now that we have a general idea, we're going to adjust how to make this thing show what we want it to show. But let me go to position, and let me position this one in the bottom left. Now I'm going to have to, we'll just let it be for right now. So how do we make this thing show the RAM, the percentage of the RAM that we're using? Alright, so under progress, the level. Notice as I drag this, okay, at 100, it's at 100%. I want this thing to kind of adjust based on where the RAM is. Well, what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to take this level and we're going to have to apply a code to it. So I got my little calculator, and let's get to it. I might have to go use my Microsoft Word to type the code in if I have to edit anything. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. I'll type it inside a Smart Notebook. No big deal. So we want to see the RAM. Now, as I scroll through these, we want to look for the one that deals with, where are you at? Resource Monitor. Alright, so I'm inside a Resource Monitor. This will tell us, this will tell us CPU usage. We'll worry about that one in a moment. Let's go ahead and do some math. And here we go, RAM. So total memory, that's how much RAM we have in all. I think that it's supposed to be 3 gigs of RAM, but it looks like it's just a hair under 3 gigs of RAM. This is free memory. This is used memory. So here's what we want to do here. We want to do a little formula. And in this formula, I want to do this. You always got to start off formulas and stuff with a dollar symbol. And I want to use the used memory. So I'm going to go ahead and just type it in over here. Basically, I'm just typing this in right here minus the MB. You'll see why. RM used. All right. And what we want to do is we want to take this and divide it by this, because basically this is how much we're using out of this right here. So let's divide it. You just use your division symbol, and this is doing a little bit of math. And let's divide by RM total. Now that right there, I'm going to go ahead and copy that into KLWP. Is this going to work? Okay, let me go paste. Bam. Okay. Now, this is a decimal, because if you take that number right there, now of course this might not be exact now because these don't change on the fly, but basically we're taking this number here, how much we're using, and we're dividing by how much we have in all. And this right here, if you're familiar with decimals and percents, we're using about 83% of our RAM. That's what I'm doing, at least in this video. Well, what I want to do here is I want to get a number, something between 0 and 100. Right now I'm between 0 and 1. I'm going to go ahead and take this and multiply it. If we multiply this thing by 100, so over here in my little formula, I'm putting times 100. Let me copy and paste this code. And there we go. So times 100. Look. So now we've really just moved the decimal 2 places to the right. Now I want to round this thing because I either want to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to see 82.64. I either want to see 82 or 83. So we want to round this thing. So what we're going to have to do here is get rid of these decimals. And the way we do that is we go to our little math piece right here, math utilities. And there's a code to round. We will round 2.80 to the nearest integer. So I want to use this code. However, I'm going to come over here, and here's how we do this. MU round. So we're going to put the MU out in front of this whole thing. MU parentheses, notice MU parentheses, and I want to round this. This is what I want to round. So MU round, comma, and now where you see the 2.80, instead of me seeing 2.80, I see all this stuff. So I want to round this, which is going to round that. Now we have to be careful with our parentheses. So since we put a, let's see here, I put one there when I did the MU round, so I need to close that up. And now we need, I think, let's see, 1, 2, I think that's good. I think that's the only one we had to do. Since I added that extra parentheses, I had to put one over here to close it up. And let's see if this works. If it doesn't, it's just a parentheses thing. So select all, let's paste. Bam, look, see, it rounded it. It rounded it to the nearest whole number, so I have an 83. Now here's what's going to happen. These will change dynamically. The RAM that I'm using and the total RAM is going to stay the total RAM, but the RAM that I'm using is going to change, which is in turn going to change this math when we multiply by 100, and it's always going to round it to the nearest whole number. So if I check this, 83, look at that. Notice 83% of my, if you count these bars, since I had 100 bars, 83 of these bars should be lit up right now. And from here, it's just a matter of you adjusting your colors. So maybe now you can start doing some crazy stuff here too. You can start applying codes, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave this as gray. This is what I have free, and I'm just going to change some color. So let's just put, I don't know, let's do a dark blue. And for the background, let's do, I guess we can keep it right around where it was. But basically, this blue here is showing how much I'm using. Now, suppose we want to see that number. You know, because I put that code, where did I put that code at? Right here, 84%. I can take this same code and copy it. I'm going to go back, and I tell you what I'm going to go ahead and do right now. Okay, remember I copied this code. I'm going to go ahead and create an overlap group, and I'm going to call this overlap group RAM, because I want to organize these things and be able to scale these how I want. So RAM, okay, let's take this progress, let's cut it, and let's paste it. Now it's taking it back to the center, because what just happened now, this progress, I know I positioned it in the bottom left. I'm actually going to position it in the center of this overlap group that I called RAM. And now I want to move this entire overlap group RAM, and I want to position it in the bottom left corner of this thing. So now this actual ring that you see is centered in this overlap group, but I have moved the overlap group to the bottom left of this component screen that we have here. So now that I'm still inside of RAM, I can center my text. I'm going to add some text. And notice that text is in the center. You see that? See how it's in the center there? Because I'm inside of an overlap group. This overlap group is in the bottom left corner of this component that you see right there. And I want to paste that code. So I copied it. Let me paste it. Oh, crud. That's right, because I copied and pasted a while ago. So, all right. Let me delete all this. I'll tell you what, I'll just copy and paste this, because this is exactly what I wanted a while ago. All right, check. And now I'm just seeing the text. Here's the difference between what we did with this one. I put that code in. Remember how we got an 84 a while ago, but it's showing an 84 bars because I put that code in on the level of that progress bar. But now, since I'm doing just a text, we just added some text here, it's just going to show that text. So this will change in relationship to this. So if this becomes 85 or 86, this will show 85 or 86, or if it goes down, it'll show that as well. Let's apply a global font. I'm going to use that Yahoo that I had. Bam. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And I'll tell you something else I want to do. I want to go back to this 84. And what I want to put on the outside of this formula is a percent symbol. I'm doing that over here. Let me copy this. And now, don't put it inside of your formula. It'll give you an error. If you put it on the outside of the formula, it'll always show a percent symbol. So just like that, we have 83%. All right, you can size it to your liking. And you can use a global color if you want, but for the heck of it, I'm just going to let it be. I'm going to let it be yellow. All right. I'll tell you what, I should have been saving this just in case KLWP locks up on me. It's gotten a lot better with the recent update, so kudos to the developer there. Now, we have this one. This is our RAM overlap group. This RAM overlap group lies inside this component and this RAM overlap group is in the bottom left corner. Now I want to create the CPU in the bottom right corner. To save some time here, let me take this RAM overlap group, let me copy it, let me paste it, and I'm going to change it to CPU. Alright. Let me take this one. Now obviously it's not CPU yet. Let me take this one, let me position that overlap group in the bottom right corner. Look at that. So right now these, okay, they're showing a little bit different numbers. Again, it's not updating right on the fly. But nonetheless, I'm inside of my CPU overlap group. So what I need to do is I need to go in and tweak these progress bars. So let me go in here and tweak. Now, no longer am I dealing with RAM. So I'm going to go to formula. I don't want to use this formula anymore. And all I really want to do is see the percentage of my CPU usage. There's not any math to do here because under resource monitor, notice we have current system CPU in percent, current idle, current used. So 49%. This is used, system plus the user. Your system's using some RAM, and then you as an individual, based on whatever apps you have open, are using some RAM. But I just want to go ahead and do this one right here because it's adding them together. Just like that. 46. Now I don't want the percent here now because all I want is a number. I want a number that is going to, come on. I want a number that is going to adjust this. Now when I come to my text inside of CPU, the overlap group, when I go to text, yes, I want the percent symbol to show there. Make sure you understand that. Inside of progress, all we want for that formula is the number. Whereas when we come back to the text that we actually see it, I want the text to actually have that percent. So let me take all this, delete it, and let me go back to the, where we at? Resource monitor and system plus user. So 54%, I want the percent was 49%, whatever, same difference. Now it's at 50. But here we go. Now, are you going to remember that this is RAM and that this is CPU? Maybe, maybe not. If you don't remember that, what you can do is you can just easily go back inside of each one. I'm inside of this CPU. I can just add another piece. I tell you what, actually I can do this. I can go to text. I'm going to go to that 45%, and I'm going to type in RAM. Okay, and I'm going to have to do it over here because I want it in caps. Of course, I could use coding for that, but I need to put that right in front. Oh man, is it going to let me do it? I'll tell you what, I'll do that. I'll enter down. So 49% RAM. Now it's going to look like it's going to be, you know, on the left side here. So what I can do is I can just center, kind of like a, this is almost like a stack group, but now these are centered. Let's change the size a little bit down to 40. That looks good. So my RAM is at, oh man, that's CPU. What am I talking about? All right, so let me take that one and go back to my text yet again. That will definitely confuse you if you don't put the right ones in there. It says CPU, and it should still be centered. Great. All right, let's go back to our component. Let's go to this overlap group that we called RAM, and let's go to that text, and let me paste RAM in there, capitalized. RAM, check. Now it's going to be aligned to the left, so let's center this. And I think I knocked down the font size to 40. So there we have it. Let's save this. And now that I don't really want this square in there anymore, I just use this square as, you know, to help your bearings out, get your reference points and stuff like that. We can just go back to this component. I don't want to delete the square. I just want to take this square, because now if you delete the square, what's going to happen is it's just going to take all these things and probably kind of squish them back together. Just go to Paint and change the color. Well, you know, you don't have to change that color. Just make it transparent. So sliding that bar all the way over. Check. Now you shouldn't see the square anymore. Bingo. All right, so suppose these things are too big. Now, since we have each piece inside of this component, since we have each piece inside of its own overlap group. Now, if I'm inside of my stats component and I go to layer right now, I'm scaling all three pieces. See that? However, since we did put each piece inside of our overlap group, what we can do is I can go to battery. I can scale just this one now. So I can make my battery bigger. So maybe I want my battery to be this big, and maybe I want the RAM. So now I'm inside of my RAM overlap group. I'm going to go to layer and I'm going to knock it down a size. And let me go to my CPU and let me knock it down a size. So layer. So notice we can scale each individual piece inside of the component. And now maybe, okay, I mentioned this, or I saw another comment too. One comment was, how do you export these things? So I did talk about that. And then another viewer, they mentioned how I was not doing a lot of padding, or I was staying away from it. Well, watch this. I'm going to take this battery here because I want the battery to be down here a little bit closer. So let me go to battery. Remember, I had it positioned at the top. But if I apply some top padding, I can knock it right on down, right about there. That looks good to me. So we're keeping them close together. Let's save this. And now that we have this piece, we can go back to our root and let's make all these other pieces visible. So date and time, remember earlier at the beginning of the video, I'm going to put visible always. And it's not really overlapping. That looks pretty good, but we're going to fine tune this. Let me go back to root. Let me go to my weather. Now I know weather is definitely going to overlap. Layer, visible, always. And I tell you what, so I'm inside of my weather stat group. Let's knock this back. Is that going to be too much? Okay. All right. I'm happy with weather being that size. I tell you what, let me go into my component for stats. And let me knock this down just a touch. So maybe, how about 75? All right, so now we have three pieces up here. How do you save this component? Well, I'm inside of my component that I called stats, and you have this other icon that pops up here. You can also lock these things if you go to share them and you don't want people changing too many things, but here's how you do it. So pressing this icon. Now, if you go inside, if you go too deep into your component, for example, if I go to RAM, notice that icon went away. You want to be on your component, press that button right there. I'm called it stats, and I'm going to say bat, RAM, CPU. And if you go to read only, that locks the editing to prevent people from actually tweaking it too much. But I tell you what, I'm just going to save that. And now here's what's great about this. Let me go ahead and show you right now since I just saved it. If I go to plus and I go to component, if I want to add another component to this wallpaper, if you go to export it, now you can pop that whole piece that we just spent 15-20 minutes making, bam, there it is whenever you want it. And remember, the global variables that we put inside of this component, so let me go back, I don't want to load it because I already have it in there. Remember the component stats, it has its own globals. So you'll be able to have these reds, greens, fonts, or whatever else you decided to add. True, I did not add other pieces in here, but you definitely can. And you can apply globals to all these, and they'll always be there. That's a great feature of a component. Now, what do we want to do here? So let's see. Going back to animation, screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. Here's what I want to happen. I want this thing to only show on screen 2 because that's where it looks nice. If I go to screen 1, the time and the stats are overlapping, and if I go to screen 3, same thing with the weather. So what I want to happen is I want this thing right here, this entire component, I want it to animate. And remember, you can animate this component because that component lies right inside of the root folder. That's why we can go to stats, go to animate, and I'm going to add an animation. I'm going to react on a background scroll. And what do we want it to do? I want it to, let's see what fade in does. Fade in, center screen, watch what happens. Okay, notice it is fading, but it's not fading how we want it to. Well, here's what I'm going to do. If I just go back and change this fade in to fade out, I think that's going to fix everything. Watch this. So I'm on screen 2. It's what I want. Check that out. It's fading out, so all I see is time on screen 1. Bam, and that should fade out again. Bam. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. So let's save this. I tell you what, since I haven't been doing this in other videos, I'm going to go ahead and export this preset. And now, just be careful here. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and click check. Now, if you don't want to override your old file, like if you're kind of doing some tweaking, you might want to name this part or V1, V2, or whatever, just something so you will have 2 different files. But since I'm happy with this, I'm going to override what it used to be at the beginning of this video. And now let's save this and let's go check it out on the home screen. So I'm guessing I'm on screen 2, screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. And these should dynamically change. The RAM, look, CPU just jumped up to 73. Now the only thing about this, with this progress bar, as you can see, it's not a smooth jump because it's jumping from 50, 49. Okay, let's see if it jumps up let's see if I can get it to spike or go down some more. 60, see how it just quickly jumps there? It would be nice if it did like a smooth transition, but it is what it is. It's no big deal. Still visually appealing in my opinion. My RAM, same thing will happen here. If the RAM spikes up too high or spikes down, it's going to quickly jump. But still, you can easily monitor these things. But there you have it. I've showed you how to make a component, save a component. I've showed you how to export your preset, which I should have done a while back. And I've showed you how to work with progress bars. And we did a little bit of math in that process. And that is it for this video. I hope it helped.